And we are live again. It never gets old here, but welcome everyone to another episode of the Takedown Troupe, your weekly TNA review show here on the BC WrestlePod Conglomeration Network Syndicate podcasting YouTube Twitch dumb that we do every single day of the week, except for most Thursdays. But April's coming around, so that's all about to change and get thrown out the window. I am your host, Mikey, and joining me this week, we have the whole entire squad here this week for Takedown Troupe. So a little bit of introductions. First and foremost, he is my ride or die. He has been here from the very beginning of this whole crazy journey. And of course, he is my good friend, Papa Oso himself. Will is in the house. I'm glad that things weren't set on fire tonight for you to be here.
I made it. Barely, but I made it.
Barely, but you are here. I am so happy that you are here. And then, of course, going from the day one to the newest one, but back, he got a call back. This is his second rodeo. He figured, what? Watching a pay-per-view was kind of crazy to jump headfirst into all of this. And now we did the reverse. We gave him all the stuff, and he figured, you know what? I want more of this. So back with a vengeance, and of course, a new friend of mine, but a very dear one in the short span of time that we've known each other. Mr. JT is in the house. Welcome back, my friend. Apparently, you thought we weren't crazy enough. They're like, you know what? Do this again.
Yep. Can't 3 count me yet. Sorry. Gotta start the puns now, or who knows when they're gonna show up. But thank you guys very much for having me and giving me the call back.
Oh my goodness, I'm super excited because we are now officially on the road to Rebellion. I mean, it was this week that we just got, within the last 48 hours, we just got announced 2 matches for Rebellion, which we'll talk about as we go through the show. But before we get into all the total nonstop action that was TNA wrestling from this week, just a little bit of the Boss Man doing Boss Man themes. If you like what you see here and you want to be a part of some more behind the scenes stuff, like maybe you're interested in the report cards we do for the TV and the pay-per-views. Maybe you totally want to see out of context clips that will totally not come and bite us in the butt when we try to apply for jobs, or when we become internet famous. And then the sign of making it is when the internet wants to cancel you. I'm just kidding. Please don't cancel us. We're still fairly young. But in all seriousness, if you want to see the fun that we have, make sure to follow us all over the social medias. We are at BC WrestlePod on anything and everything we could get our hands on a Facebook, a Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, TikTok. We have a Patreon. We have merchandise. We do not have a Snapchat, but depending on how things go, stay tuned for that. Not saying no, but also, and then of course, just say hi to us. If you feel free to leave comments in our videos, leave comments during the live streams. We love to interact with folks. We have a couple of folks who pop in ever so often. Shout out to the newest homie, Agent Lo-Fi on CMLL, who is a very fond of Lucha Libre and has become our 4th unofficial host with his knowledge and his appreciation of Lucha Libre. So please feel free. If you are shy, that is okay. You know what? Hey, we welcome everyone and anyone. Wrestling is for everybody. In the words of Brian Zane, like what you like, don't be a dick. Words I live by every day. But with that out of the way, let's actually talk about why we're really here. And that is this past Thursday's episode of TNA Wrestling, which took place Thursday, March 27, 2025. This is the last of the El Paso tapings that they did the night after Sacrifice. And then we have taping coming up tonight and tomorrow night, which is going to be all the taping episodes leading into Rebellion, which makes me super excited. Thank you, TNA, for doing all that. But let's kick things off with what opened up TNA this week, which, by the way, we had a lot of knockouts action this episode, which I was really happy to see. So we kicked things off, though, with a non-title tag team match in the knockouts division. We have our newly crowned champs at Sacrifice, the House of Elegance, so Ash and Heather by Elegance, with, their concierge, George Iceman, by their side, taking on from NXT, whom I am calling Chemical X because we don't have an official tag team name, but these are the Powder Puff Girls of NXT, in Gigi Dolan and Tatum Paxley. So, of course, as somebody who also reviews NXT here on this channel, it made me super happy to finally see Gigi and Tatum back on any form of television screen, especially in the ring, because it's been quite a while. The last time these two were in action is when they teamed up with Shotzi almost a month ago, and then we haven't seen them ever since. Now we know why they've been gone from NXT television, so it was great. And then, of course, I love the House of Elegance as new champs because it is just different and refreshing. And I actually thought this was a really fun match. I will say, I love Gigi and Tatum's finisher, which I think is called Into the Grave, I believe is what they call it. But of course, shenanigans aside, things happening, the House of Elegance win this match. So I'm actually going to go to Will first because I have lots of questions for him since he wasn't here for the sacrifice review. So 2 questions, Will. Number 1, what do you feel about Ash and Heather becoming our new Knockouts Tag Team Champions? And number 2, what did you think of the match between the House of Elegance and Gigi and Tatum?
Well, first of all, I'm extremely excited that the House of Elegance is holding on to the belts. I am super thrilled because you know me, I love me some Ash. Ash by Elegance is one of my favorites, and I am so super excited that they are now our belt holders, and I think they represent them very well. I think it's a fun. I think one of the things about wrestling sometimes, especially like championship belt matches or champions in general, is sometimes I think they take themselves too seriously. And I love that Ash and Heather are now our champions, our tag team champions, knockouts, because they are so quirky, so fun, good at what they do, which is great also, but they don't take themselves seriously. The players, not the characters, and I love that. I think it gives the Knockouts Tag Team Championship sort of a fun run now. It was like when oh gosh, now I just lost all sorts of sanity. What was it? My brain just shut down. Sorry, guys. Anyway, it's whenever I see like other companies doing these sort of fun runs with like these sort of silly characters, and like one of the things is like Noam Dar and Metaphor when they were the Heritage Cup champions. They are super silly. If you don't know Metaphor, you are sad people. But
when they came out dressed up in different themes every single week, like it was a safari one week, then they were the Matrix. Like it was ridiculous.
Exactly. And I think that like with Ash and Heather and this Ash by Elegance, it's so quirky and fun that, and of course the match was a good match. I enjoyed it, and the ending was fun and funny, and I hope, and I really, really do hope that they hang on to these belts for a little while so we can kind of have that fun again. Because I sometimes I just think we take championships too seriously, or they're like, oh, that they can't do that because they're not serious wrestlers, or that sort of thing. And I'm like, are you stupid? That's what it's about. It's about having
right.
I mean, yeah, you can have those serious rivalries and those really like moments, but you gotta have fun, guys.
No, absolutely. Lest we forget, and me and JT talked about this last week during the sacrifice review. The basis of Spitfire and the House of Elegance's match at the pay-per-view was the fact that Spitfire had the House of Elegance be their personal concierges for like 24 hours. Like those were some of the greatest segments ever. It was so much fun. It must have been a lot of fun to film that, but Now I'm going to turn this question to you, JT. Same thing. How did you feel about our opening match and, the stuff that went on afterwards as well?
So personally, coming into this, speaking of personal concierge's new neck ensemble with that brace and the bow tie going on, that was
It's so ridiculous.
that leads exactly into what Will was talking about, where throughout the years you see tag team matches, both male, female. Some of them, the champions, they have to be, all sorts of stoic, or in this case, both Ash and Heather by Elegance, they bring that diffusion, if you will, to kind of make that wrestling, like, you're looking at that going, all right, this is a little campy, but I'm here for it, and to watch this was a knockdown drag out kind of match. And this is my first time watching Gigi and Tatum, and it was their finishing move was like, I haven't seen a tag team match like that has used a little bit more. I mean, I've seen it before, but like a combination like that to just set everything up. And I was like, I'm liking this. And then your ending, which, Mike, if you want to, when we're done, you can talk about this ending. Beautiful, like poetry, beautiful. When it was all done, I was like, there it is. That's the perfect way to just round this out until they get up towards Retribution.
Oh, absolutely. And let's just go ahead and talk about it. So, House of Elegance does win. They try to go for a celebration. There's a whole cake and everything. Gigi and Tatum are still out there, and they think, why not? Let's have a great time. This is the kind of camp in my wrestling that I want all the time. So Gigi and Tatum take the candle out. They smear a little bit of the icing, and then they take Ash's face and they smash it into the cake. And we'll talk about it in just a sec, about the fact that she committed to the bit and she still had not even cleaned her face with a little bit of frosting. She still had the whole cake. She can't even see through the frosting doing this thing. This was perfect. This was fun. I loved every single moment of it. And you know what? I think this was a fun way to open up TNA this week, because I'm going to be bringing that up a lot. I enjoyed this episode of TNA because it felt a lot of fun, but it also did a lot to progress storylines leading into the next pay-per-view. So after this moment, we cut backstage real quick with the youngest boy in charge, one of my personal favorites, Leon Slater, with Miss Gia Miller. Gia asked Leon about being in the main event tonight, going up against Nick Nemeth. Leon Slater talks about how, Nick Nemeth and his brother Ryan have are going to answer for what they did at Sacrifice before beating up Matt, but also they're dismissing Leon. And so Leon is going to do what the Hardys have taught him, which is to fight deep, fight hard, and give it everything he has and show why he is the youngest in charge. God, I hope Leon becomes a champion by the end of this year. I am such a big fan, and I cannot wait. But speaking of backstage shenanigans, yes. So we have the Elegance girls with George Iceman. Ash is not having it. She needs to take a vacation. So Heather and George George Iceman, the concierge, have to hold down the Elegance brand, which I think is code for, because I think Ash has some independent wrestling shows she's going to be doing in the next week or two. So again, full on commitment to the bit. She's still covered in cake. They didn't even clean her eyes out. The water did not help, but she was here for it all. And I'm just like, this is why I love wrestling sometimes, because we just commit to the bit. It's so much fun. Girls, it's so good. Go ahead, Will.
It's funny. and I'm just going to get on soapboxes all night tonight. I think it's so funny when people bitch and moan about things like this, like segments like this, and I grew up in the glory days of the '80s, style wrestling, where everything was like this. I mean, everything was cheesy as hell and bloody, and probably dangerous in regards to OSHA standards, but it was part of it, and I mean, and I've been on the message boards, and I hear and I see people commenting about how, oh, this is so dumb, why do we do things like this, and blah blah blah. I'm like, wrestling's always been this. It's always been this. I mean, did you just hatch from an egg? I mean, literally, wrestling has always been a cheese factory. I mean, go back and look at some of the '80s style, like costumes and makeup, and then back in the '80s they always had the eye candy, the ladies dressed in the scantily clad outfits, and usually, and then like even like Cyndi Lauper. If you don't know who she is, shame on you. She was involved with wrestling, and I mean, it was complete and utter cheese, and it was fantastic. And it did not detract from the wrestling; it enhanced it, and that's what this does. It enhances, because all it does is set up the hatred between the House of Elegance and Spitfire. I mean, it just enhances it. So I love it when they do stuff like this. Yeah. Absolutely.
3 words: Legion of Doom. Just saying, if anybody has, like Will said, if you had just hatched right now and you started watching this type of stuff and you think, man, it's campy as hell, guess what? That's what they do. That's what they get paid to do. And you know what? They do it flawlessly when they do it. It is athleticism and theatrics at the same time. But anybody who has watched the older school wrestling, the Legion of Doom came out with shoulder pads, mohawks, and face paint. They were the Road Warriors. That's what they did. And you watched every night watching WrestleMania to watch the Legion of Doom, because they were amazing at what they did. So to see something like this and have somebody complain about it, be like, maybe you need to kind of get back to the roots a little bit and see what your forefathers and mothers used to do.
Oh, absolutely. And I think people forget it when we talk about, because we call it professional wrestling entertainment. The key word being here is entertainment in this case. Yes, we love the athleticism. Yes, we love people defying all laws of gravity and physics, but we're also here to be entertained. And this is entertaining to us here at Takedown Troupe. So I think people just need to remember to have fun with what they're watching and not be so serious. In the words of the Joker, why so serious? Oh my goodness. There are a couple of characters though we're going to talk about. It's just like, loosen up. I'm looking at you, Frankie Kazarian. We're going to talk about you when we get to it. Lord have mercy. It is tough, but we move on from this fun backstage segment into our next match. Will's favorite people of all time. Just kidding. So speaking of Frankie was a busy man this evening, but we get into our next match again because we are in El Paso, Texas. We have Chavo Guerrero Jr., yes, that Chavo Guerrero, teaming up with the Aztec Warriors, which is Laredo Kid and Octagon Jr. of AAA in Mexico, taking on AJ Francis and Casey Navarro of First Class. And they are unfortunately paired up with, somebody going through a midlife crisis and Frankie Kazarian. That is the best way to explain his wrestling character for those of you who may have not watched, who are so new to TNA. So I will say, while I wish they had gotten the win on the pre-show at Sacrifice, I am happy that for once Laredo Kid was not used as cannon fodder, because the Aztec Warriors and Chavo Guerrero actually won. My God, though, the tribute to Eddie, that frog splash was beautiful. And I think that's what got me. Everybody here at BC WrestlePod and on the internet knows that Eddie is probably my favorite old school wrestler of all times. just because of Latino heat and everything, but also what he represent for a kid like me. Being like, oh my gosh, between him and Rey Mysterio, Halloween Havoc, I know is overplayed, but that match between those two at Halloween Havoc back in the day is one of my first real introductions to wrestling. And also be like, oh my gosh, there's not just white wrestlers on my screen. But this was a match, and this was exactly, it was for the people. The crowd in El Paso, I love you so much. Every chance they got, whether it be AJ or Frankie, we heard culero. We at one point they didn't uncensor it, but they got called a puto too, which was hilarious to me. I was just like, never change, El Paso. And I have to say, despite me not liking AJ and Casey's first class characters, I will never discredit Casey Navarro as a wrestler because I think he's good. And honestly, I think AJ does what he does best, being a big man with the powerhouse. But yeah, again, Chavo and the Aztec Warriors pick up the victory here, sending the crowd home in El Paso happy. I was like, thank gosh we didn't have first class beat Laredo Kid and Squad again. JT, there's a running gag here that Laredo Kid is so good in the ring, but every time he is on the TV show, he is usually here to eat a pin and lose. He never ever wins. In the last couple of times he's been here, he never has won a match. He's always used to lose or get pinned. So it was nice that he actually won. So I'm actually going to go to you first. So you have a little bit, you're like, hey, I know who Chavo Guerrero Jr. is.
Yeah.
So what did you think of this 6-man tag team match?
This was insane. And like you said, having Chavo Guerrero and the Aztec Warriors, it was almost like watching like Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero in the ring, like going up against First Class and Mr. Kazarian there. That was my team. I was like, they better win. I'm gonna riot on this podcast if they don't win. So to watch this was it was pretty spectacular, especially that little tribute before the frog splash there. I was like, there we go. That's it right there. And now Laredo's got a W. He doesn't have to be like, oh no, I'm just constantly gonna lose. AJ's athleticism, like that dude is a brick house. I was gonna use other words, but that, like, he picked up both Aztec warriors and just gave him a fling, like he was just, tossing out laundry or something. Like, that was impressive. I loved it. I loved this whole match. Was amazing to watch.
Awesome. All right, now I turn the attention to Will. So Will, we know your feelings of First Class and in more recent weeks with their penthouse segments. But what did you think of this 6-man? Literally, they paired up people we like versus, well, minus Casey, because I like Casey, but they paired up like two of the worst people we always talk about here on this review. So, Will, what did you think of the match of this match?
I thought the match was fine. I didn't have a problem with the match. And yes, I hate AJ Francis and Frankie Kazarian. Those two characters can take a long walk off a short pier, and I'd be okay with it. Casey Navarro, I actually do like. I will admit, I wish that Casey Navarro would get away from AJ Francis and be his own man. But, whatever. So at the moment, he gets hate by association only, not directly. Now, let's talk about the spotlight of this match, which was Chavo Guerrero Jr. and the Aztec Warriors. Because let me tell you, if they did not win in El Paso, I would have set this state on fire. I would have burned it to the ground. I was just like, for
those of you watching at home, Will is a Texas native.
I am a Texas native. I am in Texas. And when I saw this and they were in El Paso, I was like, you better not, because I was going to be pissed. And yes, I am happy as can be that Laredo. I am absolutely happy for him. However, I want him to win as an individual wrestler. I'm tired of them using him as cannon fodder. I am absolutely sick and tired because he's a freaking amazing wrestler. And yet every time we see him, he loses. And it just makes me so angry. So it was wonderful to see the three of these guys take this victory. I was like hooping and hollering when it happened. And anytime that AJ Francis and Frankie Kazarian get their asses handed to them, I'm on top of that. But no, it was awesome to see him in a winning situation for once. And now I hope this just wasn't a one-off. And I hope they start using him as a winner as opposed to just props.
Right.
Really just a prop. And it's so irritating.
I hope this means that, because honestly, I would love for First Class and Aztec Warriors to feud, and then for Aztec Warriors to kind of quote unquote get the lick back after losing the pre-show for Sacrifice. But this was a fun match. It definitely had the crowd invested, and it definitely sent the crowd home happy with one of these highlights as Chavo and the Aztec Warriors beat First Class and Frankie Kazarian. Frankie, we're going to get to you before we get to our main event down the line. So we're going to put a pin in you. So let us move on to Rosemary. I love her so much. And I had to make sure to include the demon wings as a part of the picture. But Rosemary cuts this pre-tape promo. And of course, she does what Rosemary does best, which is summon the nethers of the undead world. And that she is putting the Knockouts division on notice that they are coming for them. I'm like, ooh, Rosemary, I want more they. Tell me more. Like, is this they going to be a physical? Because she's been talking about this for a couple of weeks now. And so I'm like, are we going to get someone? Are we not? But the only thing that I will say, and this is nothing against Rosemary and actually nothing against this promo, I just want her to be in a feud that is actually going to continue. We thought we were going to get that with Zaya, and we didn't. I thought Liang Li and her were going to go at it after Liang got misted a couple weeks ago. Didn't happen. So I am hoping that Rosemary will have a proper feud come wherever we're going in 2025. But I love Rosemary. I love this promo. So JT, this is your first real introduction to Rosemary and how her character operates. What did you think of the demon of the night, Rosemary?
That was theatrical as hell. Like, this is kind of a new thing for me where they've taken almost like a promotional shot, like a promotional video. Like, it's when she ended up mentioning I kind of sort of did the same thing. Now keep in mind, I don't really know her that well. This is kind of the starting foyer into TNA, but whenever I hear they and they're not doing pronouns, like, it gets my mind racing. Well, who could it, like, I mean, I know a small handful of the women that are in here, but like, who's she going to team up with? Is she bringing somebody else? Maybe she's going to pull somebody from the NXT. Like, what? I'm intrigued, needless to say. And this was an amazing performance.
Again, we talked about it earlier, not to go into it in full depth again, but again, campiness and entertainment. Like, I love fun characters like this because it gives you something, it gives you somewhere to go as, an entertainer, as a performer. And, I like Rosemary in the ring. So I'm hoping that for her, we can give her like a full feud sometime in 2025. But I'm very interested to see where Rosemary goes from here. This leads us into another backstage segment. So, we thought that the street fight between Mance Warner and Sami Callihan was the nail in the coffin. Oh no, these two, mostly Sami, wants to continue to punch Mance's lights out. So we get this backstage sit down where we have Mance Warner and our our TNA digital media champion, Steph DeLander, on one side, Sami Callihan, who is in handcuffs, on the other, because he's not going to be allowed to punch people in the face this time. And we have our favorite deputy of authority of TNA, Mr. Santino Marella, moderating this with a few security guards in the background. This was so fun. This was ridiculous. To me, I think we get something crazier at Rebellion because these two are still going to go at it. And as Will knows, he probably knows what I'm about to say. I need a Monsters Ball match between these two. That is where this feud goes. God, I hope we get a Monsters Ball match because selfishly, I will be there at the pay-per-view, so I want to see that. But I think the feud has kind of escalated to a point where we need to. Also, Steph, what was in that drink? Because it was burning Sammy's face and eyes like it was some sort of chemical burn. Like, what is happening in TNA? Like, how do we get industrial grade strength acid? Like, what is happening? But these two go back and forth. Obviously, things are not done. Sammy still wants to punch Mance's lights out. Mance says that I'm here and I am going to destroy you, Sammy. And Steph's like, you're a loser. It's like, you have nothing to live for. Here, you need a drink, in her like accent and everything. But yeah, this isn't over between Sammy and Mance. So, Will, I'm going to come to you first. We had a street fight at Sacrifice, but these two have been continuing to fight since then. Where do you think this feud is going to go?
I think it's going to end up in a Monsters Ball. It is. There's no way it's not. If it doesn't, I'm going to be very disappointed because they're building it to it. I mean, it has to be. I mean, Sami Callihan, come on. He's like, I'll do anything. I'll do whatever as long as I get to destroy you. I mean, truly. I mean, we've seen Sammy. Sammy's been he's been a little cray-cray lately. And I think that, and with Mance and Steph and their sort of gothic emo take on things, I think a Monster Brawl would be perfect. I think Monster Brawl it out, baby. Just like, I want to see death and destruction. I do. And fun. I want to see maybe, some blood here and there, maybe some other things.
Yeah. Monsters Ball is so much fun. Okay, so JT, really quickly before I turn to the question to you. So we know that there's some weird stipulations and some weird rules when it comes to these made up matches, right? I think Monster Ball and TNA takes to the cake because just how dramatic it is for no reason. Okay, so in a Monsters Ball match, the participants in the match are locked away in a dark room with no food and water for 24 hours. Or is it 48? It's one of the two. Not really, but literally, like when the matches start for these things, they let them out of the dark room. And so then they do the light is so bright kind of thing. And then it's just when they get in the ring, it's all hell breaks loose. We have seen thumbtacks, cinder blocks, chairs, tables, ladders. We saw a jackhammer at one point. Like, it is ridiculously crazy and violent, but we love it. But bringing it back around, JT, what did you think of the segment between, Mr. Death Machine himself, Sami Callihan, and the Southern psychopath, Mance Warner?
Yeah, I definitely agree that, well, for one, anything in that cup, like, that's why it's steel, because we'll get to that later. But like you guys were mentioning, that this turning into a Monster Ball is going to be, it looks like it's going to be a needed thing. Like, they had to handcuff him so he wasn't going to beat the guy. Like, that's pretty much where I'm going to end. That is, we need that Monster Ball. Hash it out and either turn your back and, I guess, bury something, a hatchet, whatever it may be. But yeah, this needs to go hard real soon.
It really does. Also, I love that Mance is technically the wrestling proxy for Steph's, and she still can't. She's not cleared to wrestle quite yet. But I love that Mance is the proxy for her, where she's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna fight in her place. What now?" Like, it's great. Oh my goodness. Yeah, give me a Monsters Ball match, TNA, please. All right, so we have more knockouts action to talk about. In another non-title match, we have our TNA Knockouts champion, Masha Slamovich, taking on NXT's JC Jane. Dare I say, Will, I think this is the best. It's nice. First of all, it's nice to see JC as a singles wrestler because honestly, she's always been in some sort of group, whether it was Toxic Attraction when she joined up with Chase U, or now it's with Fatal Influence. We don't really get to see JC be a single star, and it was a nice change of pace here on TNA that she was wrestling in singles action for this match. And dare I say, I think she was really good. She was really good. That so when she was on the apron, that kick, she put some power in that. She swung her leg back and she kicked Masha square in the face, and Masha sold that very well. I was like, you go, JC. This is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. JC and Masha kind of brutalized each other. And I'm gonna be honest, like, because of the way that JC's character is in NXT with Fatal Influence, with them being like the pretty mean girls kind of thing, like, I did not expect her to go this hard. But then again, I looked at who JC's opponent was across the ring, and I'm like, listen, when your last name is Slamovich, you need to kind of go hard a little bit. So to summarize everything, Masha does what she does best, and she brutalizes women. JC, you were a pleasant surprise in this match, and you were equally as brutal. This was great. We're going to talk about what happened afterwards, though, because I'm worried for Mrs. Slamovich over here heading into Rebellion. But I'm going to come to you first, JT. Masha versus JC. What did you think?
So I've kind of got one of those things where I'm like, every time, like, now this is Masha's one of my favorites when it comes to some of the women wrestlers that are here, and to watch this fight was kind of insane because there was a lot. I like to go from kind of the technical side of things when I watch this, and they were just punches, kicks, suplexes everywhere. Jace just pummeling the crap out of Masha's face. Like, it was, I'm actually, even, like, no joke, just like rewatching it again, I wanted to be like, this is insane, because a new character, for me, I've never seen JC before, and knowing that she's coming from NXT, like, that she's going to bring a lot of that fire and just absolute brutality. Like you said, the ending, we'll talk about that later. That was a surprise. And like you said, it's almost like they're painting a target on Masha's back. And we're gonna see how that goes.
Alrighty. Will, going from Masha defeating Cora Jade to now entering a gauntlet with JC, what did you feel about this match?
I like this match, and I loved JC as a singles wrestler. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's so funny because I don't know necessarily they know what to do with her. So I think that's why they put her in groups. And I think she could be her own person. I think she could be her own, like, a pretty badass one too. She's a great heel. I mean, she's, by any means necessary type of thing. And I think she could lean even deeper into that and, like, really be, because right now I think she's sort of the caricature of a heel. They've kind of pushed her into that category, because even when, like, back with Chase U and all that, even though she was like, oh, I'm here to help you, we knew she was darker and there was something sinister under there, but I think they really kind of made her too much of a caricature. and which is a disservice to her because she's actually really good at what she does. And I think personally, what I wish would happen is I wish JC Jane would step out on her own, completely rebrand herself, and just come in as like the ultimate bad guy. Just come in as in, I'm here to just destroy the world to watch it burn. I think that would be fantastic. But I really enjoyed this, and I knew what the outcome was going to be, and I was not surprised by the ending at all.
Well, let's just get into it while we continue to talk about this. Tessa comes out and she attacks Masha. She gets the better of Masha for a little bit, but then, Masha is saved by Zaya Brookside and Liang Li, which sets up a match for next week where it is going to be Masha, Zaya, and Liang Li taking on Tessa, JC, and a mystery partner that JC's going to bring over from NXT. My money's on Fallon, if I'm going to be completely honest, but I'm still excited because that's also really fun. I mean, we're in El Paso. Fallon's character is Mean Girl, Texas, rancher. Like, why not? But this brings up my question, and this could be an open discussion we all can have. I love Masha to death. I love that she won the title from Jordan Grace at Bound for Glory back in October last year. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm leaning more and more to us like, I think they might actually put the strap on Tessa at Rebellion. And that's a little unnerving for me because I'm like, I don't know how I would feel. Obviously, I would be mad that, Masha is no longer champion because I love her. But even putting that aside, I don't know with how much heat Tessa has from her return and just the controversy surrounding that TNA would bring her back despite her, less than stellar last tenure here in TNA before the pandemic. I don't know. I'm worried they might actually put the championship on Tessa at Rebellion, which I hope that's not the case. Now, I think we are for sure getting Masha versus Tessa at Rebellion. Like, this has been going on for months. I think it's time for them to fight, but I'm worried that Masha's not going to walk out of Los Angeles as the champion. I don't know. I tend to overanalyze when it comes to these wrestling things, but I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, so we get this 3-on-3 match next week. Should be fun, but I'm worried for Rebellion. Anyways, we move on. This was the money shot for me right here. Like, yes. Okay. So me and Will got the match wrong at Sacrifice because Ali did end up beating Mike Santana, and JT, like me and you talked about last week, halfway through the match, Ali had a dislocated jaw and set it back into place in the middle of the match to finish it. Like, that was insane. And then when we were talking about the show last week too, like, he took some fans' beer and put it in the middle of the ring after the match at Sacrifice, and it's just like, here, this is gonna be here for you because you lost. That was like, oh my gosh. But this segment has Mike Santana walking through the streets of New York. We're getting like cuts to Ali and Mike Santana's feud so far. And then we see in Ali We Trust, Ali for president candidate posters. And then Mike just keeps ripping them up. And then we end this with this shot where he takes the thing, rips it in half, and we have half Mike Santana face, half Ali face. Mike Santana is out for blood, and I'm here for it. Again, I know we're barely towards the beginning of 2025, but this has been my favorite feud so far in the year just because of how good both of these men are. So, no notes. I mean, I don't know. Listen, wrestling feuds, as someone who writes a lot of things, mean a lot to me because I want to see how a story plays out. And this has been my favorite story. Again, with both of you on different occasions, we've talked about there had to have been some sort of conversation of Mike Santana and Ali using Mike Santana's 2-year sobriety as part of the storyline. Like on social media a couple weeks back, he posted, his 2-year coin and everything. So there had to have been some sort of conversation going into all of this. And I think they've done a very good job of not, and I know it's taboo to say his name, like Voldemort, he whom shall not be named, but they haven't Vince McMahoned it as, yes, he is now a verb when we talk about wrestling. Like, he hasn't Vince McMahoned it where it's been so bad or is overdone or is very problematic. So it's been really nice to see this, and just give me what I want. If I can get Michael Santana at Rebellion, I will be the happiest kid on earth. I'm just saying it right now. But I'm excited. Even in this small moment, we developed the feud furthermore. Loved it. I'm going to be honest. This was a fun match. Though, to me, this was the more forgettable one of the evening, unfortunately. And I think that's because I still don't know how Steve Maclin and Eric Young are feuding. And Maclin is not even in the picture for this match or in this episode, which was really weird to see. Now, Eric Young is great. Love him. I love Ace Austin, and I'm glad that we have found a way to continue to push him, after everything that happened with the tag team partner, Chris Bay, being paralyzed and everything, and now walking. It's been a lot of fun. Eric Young wins. I'm going to be completely honest. I forgot about this match until I put the slides together. I'm like, oh crap, this match happened.
Same.
I was like, damn it.
Well,
and it's unfortunate.
It's, I'm sorry, but I'm over it. This whole Eric Young thing, I don't know what the hell he's doing. First of all, this whole thing should have ended after Josh Alexander left. I mean, this whole faction thing should have just fallen out all way on the wayside, and bring the Northern Armory or Saint and Center out as an actual like tag team and let them do their thing. But now they're still like in the background. I mean, even in this picture, it's like, what the heck are we doing with these guys? I mean,
they did not get the call back to be Casey from the Ninja Turtles.
I don't know. I'm over it. I'm over this whole Eric Young and thing. I'm so done with it.
And we talked about this before, Will. I think my biggest issue since Eric Young took over, since Josh left back in February, is that I don't know the motivation as to why Eric Young wants Steve Maclin to join them. Like, he's like, the only thing he's been saying is because I respect you and we're friends. That's not enough motivation when you're trying to start a cult, you guys. Like, what is happening? Now, if it comes out that Eric Young's like, I want him on my side because I want to manipulate him, I want to control him. Like, if Eric Young perceives Steve Maclin as a threat down the line and he wants to nip it in the bud before it becomes a bigger problem than it already is, then I'm here for it. But he hasn't given me indication as to that's what his motives are. And that's my biggest issue with this character version of Eric Young, is that the motivation is very unclear. And they're not doing enough showing or telling in this matter of what we are doing. And I agree with you, Will. I think Northern Armory should have been like dismantled and just have Sinner and Saint be a tag team. Now, Am I happy that they're going to be in a tag team match next week? Yes, absolutely. Because I think they're an incredible tag team. But these two have not gotten a chance to actually showcase why, because they also wrestle on the independent scene, why they are Defy Wrestling tag team champs. Like, they are so good, but TNA is not utilizing them. And unlike the women's tag team division, where it's only like 2 teams right now, you have 4 or 5 men's tag teams right now, with the Hardys being one of them. Like, there are so many things that you can do with them, and you're just having to be cronies to Eric Young. Gosh.
And I don't even, going back to our previous conversations, I don't even know why Eric Young suddenly turned into a heel.
And we still never got an answer.
Never got a lead up to it. There was no indication for it. It was literally like, oh crap, Josh Alexander's leaving. What can we do? Oh, I know. Let's just pick random Eric Young to take his place. They kind of look like each other. Boom. And it would be like the audience will never know that we switched them out. Ooh.
Listen, not all bald-headed Canadians are the same. Like,
I know. It's just so I don't get it. That's why I'm so done. I don't. I've had this. I've mentioned this before. It's like if I don't have something to hold on to, if you don't give me something to grab onto, I'm just gonna ignore you. And that's kind of what I'm doing with Eric Young and the Northern Armory. I just ignore them because there's nothing there for me to hold on to. There's nothing for me to get behind. There's nothing for me to go, oh yeah, they're amazing heels, or oh no, why did he turn like that? I mean, it's got nothing. So until they give me something, I don't care.
I did the same thing for Sacrifice. I saw them and I was just like, what is okay. All right. You guys are gonna okay, go ahead and wrestle. You're taking up like 10 minutes of my time, but all right. So yeah.
and it's unfortunate too, because I don't dislike Eric Young, the wrestler, because I think he's a lot of fun and he's good. It's a shame that Ace Austin had to suffer a loss here, but you know what? They want to continue to build Eric Young. I need them to speed up where we're going with Macklin and Eric Young's feud, because like every week it's one of them is there, the other is not. Like we need a collision path, like we need something. So I'm gonna talk about some predictions, because if we don't get Macklin and Eric Young either on television in the next couple of weeks or at Rebellion, after Rebellion, I don't want to see these. I don't want to see this faction continue forward. Like we need a whole entire Backstreet Boys breakup. Like bye, go away, NSYNC, leave. Like it's tearing up my heart. Like, so we shall move on, because our man is on our screen next. We figure out what is next for TNA World Champion, Mr. Joe Hendry. We love him and his blue satin shirts here at BC Wrestle Pod. We love this. We love the Scottish man. I'm gonna be honest. This is a really weird segment, but I kind of dug it. First, we get Joe Hendry talking about what's next for him, where he is wanting to be a fighting champion and he's going to defend this thing. Then he gets interrupted by Rockstar Jesus himself, Elijah, who comes out with his guitar. And, you know, they tease the will they, won't they kind of thing. Then we get a You Got a Friend in Me sing along out of nowhere, which was like, I mean, this is on the streaming platform, so copyrights doesn't exist apparently. I'm like, I'm sure that song is not public domain, but you know, covers are a very weird, like tricky thing when it comes to everything. But you know, we could talk about that in a little bit. But then, the bane of all of our existence, the king of TNA, Frankie Kazarian, comes out with a bass guitar. We have a really awkward guitar riff off. Then, you know, some jokes are made. And then we get to the crux of this, where Frankie is trying to have Elijah and Joe Hendry. He's trying to stir the pot to pick a fight between the two of them. Joe and Elijah are having none of it. And they get the crowd's involvement of singing na 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 na, hey, 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 goodbye to Frankie Kazarian. I'm telling you, Frankie is going to cash that trophy in at the most inopportune time, and it's probably going to piss me off. Like, it's probably going to make me mad. He's going to screw Joe over by cashing in that trophy. Now, as far as this segment goes, I really hope they don't turn Elijah on Joe, because I will actually be kind of mad. Like, I don't think Elijah should be a heel for right now. I think down the line, when he's been in TNA for a little bit longer, absolutely. This was just a weird segment, because I'm like, so are we teasing Elijah and Joe, Frankie and Joe, a triple threat between these three? Like, we still don't know what's next for Joe Hendry, but I dug it for what it was. I enjoyed it. But I will also admit, as much as I love the shenanigans that Joe Hendry brings and all these segments, we needed to tighten up on the direction of where we're going with Joe and this championship, because Joe, we haven't even found a proper challenger for Joe Hendry in the title yet. When he won it off Nick Nemeth, I was so excited. but we don't know who he gonna challenge next. Like we have not defined that in like the last 2-3 months. So JT, I'm gonna come to you first. So what did you think about this whole acid dream of a segment?
This was just kumbaya-tastic. Uh, I loved it. Like just watching their performances just in general. I mean, yeah, Frankie was cringe as all hell, but how can you not being the way that he be? I think it'd be really cool to have like Frankie and Joe in a one-on-one. Like I know that sooner or later it's going to happen with all three of them, and I hope, like you said, that Rockstar Jesus is not going to turn heel because I don't I don't want an emo hippie. Like I like him as a character. He's the when I saw him in Sacrifice, I was just like, I could watch more of that. And the same thing with Joe. I could watch more of that. And then I look at Frankie and I go, I don't want to watch more of that, but we're gonna see it anyways. That's okay. But I think hopefully maybe they might show maybe precursor or tease something next week. So when Rebellion comes in, then you'll have your main event on who's going to take on Joe Hendry. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, I'm hoping that within next week or even after that, we kind of need to figure out what Joe's match is going to be Rebellion, because you can't have Rebellion, which is one of the big 4 pay-per-views for TNA throughout the year, and not have your world champion defend that title or be involved in some way, shape, or form. So, Will, same question to you. We know that you are the presidente of the Joe Hendry fan club and the fan fiction fan club with the spiciness. What did you think of this whole entire fever dream of a segment?
I'm probably in the same camp as you guys. Is the idea that I hope they don't turn Elijah against Joe. I think if they're gonna turn Elijah turn him into a heel or whatever, or even just a face that wants a championship, but whatever he's gonna against Joe, I think it needs to be further down the line. Mainly because I love these two; they're dynamic with each other. I kind of really dig that, and and if Joe loses the title to whomever, I hope these two become a tag team. Because holy goodness, aren't they great together? Just even in promo stuff, they just mesh
so much. Elijah and Joe tag team would fill the emptiness that Joya has left. Hey, but Yuya's doing great in Japan. Me and Adolfo get to see him wrestle very soon, so I'm super excited.
Yay! But no, I love that, and of course, Frankie Kazarian drives me freaking nuts. I just don't like this character. It's cringy. It's on the verge of being like at times very racist.
Right. Okay. So I'm glad you said something, because like the way that Frankie was talking and how things are coming out of his mouth, I was like, I don't know if I'm not getting a good feeling about this, Frankie. And I'm like, I don't know how I feel about this. Franklin, what are we going to do with you?
And he's another one. Going back to what the hell. He's another one that switched so quickly. Like remember that whole storyline between him and Eddie, and it was like,
okay, so that went on way too long. We agreed, but again, he was the good guy in that whole entire feud, and then as soon as that was done, I mean, granted, he turned heel at Rebellion last year on the pre-show against Eric Young, and so I was like, oh, you know what, heel Kazarian could be fun. And then he turned into a suburban white mom who bitches about everything. And I was like, oh, damn it. We turned him into a Karen, you guys. Like, gosh darn it.
and it was like, but he switched like just suddenly. It just happened, and I'm just like, where was what? I don't what? And then he became this, and I don't know what this. I don't know what
He is a frat boy
acid
who
drop
refuses
fever
to
dream
grow
he.
up and graduate from college. You were in college 20 years ago, my dude.
You're not a frat boy. You need to give that up. I'm sorry.
It's I can't take him seriously because he's dressed in this and then he has the sneakers. Like, damn
Yeah.
it, Frankie.
And yeah, I agree with you. I think he's going to cash that stupid trophy in.
It's gonna piss me off. It's gonna be the worst thing ever.
Mm-hmm. It is. It's going to be. Oh, it's going to make me so mad. But yeah, he's another one that I'm just like, he needs to like go away.
I don't know if they'll do it soon, but be prepared for me to send you a video of me throwing explicitives if he walks out of Los Angeles as champion.
Oh my God. There is no way on this earth that they're going to let Frankie Kazarian be that. No, ma'am. I will literally stop watching alt wrestling forever.
No, don't say that.
Because that will literally darken my soul. I will.
Oh no.
I will really turn heel, and I don't think you guys want to heel Papa Oso because it'll be ugly.
While I would be intrigued, I would kind of prefer it not to if we can help it. I have seen glimpses, and it is. Listen, it was like as a messy person, I love people going off. Though I don't know if we're quite ready for that, but I do agree. I like Joe and Elijah's dynamic. Don't turn Elijah heel. Frankie's going to cash that thing in the worst time and make me very upset. I would appreciate it if TNA would not do that while I am in attendance live in Los Angeles, because you are going to have a lot of Southern California West Coasters be up in flames. Also, Tessa, do not come out in cornrows. I'm just putting it out there. You are an LA country girl. Like, if you want to see some real cholitas, like, nah. But I digress. So we move on to what is our main event of this episode: Nick Nemeth versus the youngest in charge, Leon Slater. This was a really fun main event, and I have to say, I think this is probably my favorite match of the night. But partially because I'm biased because I love Leon Slater to death. But honestly, I think this did two things. It allowed Leon Slater to continue momentum, even in a loss, showing that he is a fantastic wrestler, and the fact that TNA is featuring him more within the last 2 months than they have since he's been here for the last year and a half, 2 years in the company. This has to lead to him winning a championship. I'm going to put a pin in that because when we talk about one of the matches made for Rebellion, I think we might see Leon walk out Los Angeles as a champion. But I thought this was great. Leon Slater pulling off his high-flying and fast-paced offense, and Nick Nemeth being like, and I mean this in the best way possible, like, you're very traditional. Like, he studied HBK and all of them as a kid growing up, because like the super kicks, he is literally to me a 2025 version of Shawn Michaels. Like, the way he wrestles, the way he does everything, like, literally to me, Nick Nemeth is Heartbreak Kid coded, and I'm kind of here for it. And then, of course, you know, Nick Nemeth has his younger brother, Ryan Nemeth, in his corner every time he gets on the mic. My big brother. So, unfortunately, Nick Nemeth does win here. But honestly, for the storyline purposes, it makes sense, especially what happens afterwards, which we'll talk about. But JT, I'm going to come to you first. Nick Nemeth, Leon Slater. What did you think of the match?
This was, I really enjoyed this match too. And like you said, it really did kind of bring that HBK moment when it's with Leon Slater getting tutelage from both Hardy brothers. Like, it really was kind of like watching a Hardy brother going up against HBK. And I was totally here for it. Like, I think Leon's like you said, he's kind of a new up and comer, and he needs that championship. And I think he's now one of, I've got a couple of favorites, and Leon, since Sacrifice, has been one of them, definitely. It was, God, why does Nick's brother just, I want
He
to.
has a punchable face.
He has a very shaken baby syndrome quality, and I'm just like, I can't. I just can't. That guy opens up his mouth, and I want to punch my screen. It's horrible, but like, the end of this match was like what kind of put the icing on the cake. Like, this was an amazing match, and then to be them pretty much setting it up for Rebellion. Whoo, this is going to be good. You're going to have. I'm jealous, legit, Mikey. I'm going to be so jealous when you're there, because
So
this is going to be an awesome match.
So, Will, to kind of give you a little bit of context, me and JT talked about this last week at Sacrifice. He is probably the biggest fan of the Hardys. Like, he is the big Hardy Boy fan. And you know what? Me and Will on occasion have said that since they've come to TNA, I've always loved and appreciated the Hardys because they are a staple in wrestling history. But this current run that they're on, I was just like, I love them more and more every time they come out. So, Will, I want to get your thoughts on this before we talk about some news and matches made for Rebellion. So, what did you think about our main event this week of Nick Nemeth and Leon Slater?
I mean, it was good. It was a good match. I hate that Leon Slater keeps losing, because he's so good. And I mean, I know for story purposes, I knew what the outcome of this one was going to be, but it's one of those where I'm just like, you got to give the guy a win. He's got to get a win. Come on. He's, first of all, TNA, he is way too good to be wasting, and I think that he just now I know they're probably trying to make it where he loses, and suddenly he rises from the ashes and wins something. But I'm just like, but I'm one of those people that if you keep doing it over and over and over and over again, I'm already desensitized to it and I don't care anymore. So I'm getting to that point where it's like, okay, whatever, moving on. Who's next? And I hate that because I freaking love Leon Slater, but I'm starting to not care anymore. And I'm already tired of the Nemeth brothers. I think it's played out. It's just, what I really want to see? I want to see Nick and Ryan get into a squabble and start separate and become two different factions where they are literally fighting each other. I would love that because Ryan Nemeth, my God. I mean, he's funny because when I saw him at Genesis, he was hilarious. I'm not going to lie. But it's one of those, you just want to punch him in his throat. It's just like, it's, and my big, I literally want to push my hand down his throat and rip his lungs out. It's like, shut up. You're getting on my nerves. And now this whole new route that Nick is taking, I don't get it. I'm kind of like, to me, it just feels pissy, like petty. Oh, you lost the title. You're not as good as you think you are. Oh,
right. No. Well, okay, here's the thing. So I knew a heel turn for Nick was going to come, but I thought it would be for him to go back after Joe, which I would be here for. A heel Nick Nemeth versus a face Joe would be great. But since we're having Nick and Ryan, be a tag team now, I'm like, interesting choice, TNA, because that goes back to what we were talking about during the Elijah, Joe, and Frankie segment. Right now, there is not a credible person to go up against Joe right now for the title. And I'm like, I don't know what kind of match he's going to have at Rebellion. So I don't know. I agree with you that I want to see Leon win a little bit more, but I'm going to tell you why I think we're going to see Leon win big very soon in a little bit. But at the end of this match, Leon Slater gets beat up by Ryan and Nick. But then, of course, we have the Hardys music play. They come out for the save. Matt gets on the mic. He talks about how, Ryan and Nick, you want to do all these things to me, and you want to feel how you made me feel and looked after you beat me up in that cage. Well, we'll settle it at Rebellion. So, as per Santino Marella and TNA social media accounts, at Rebellion, we are getting a TNA World Tag Team Championship match. The Hardys defending the titles against Nick and Ryan Nemeth. And I screamed. I was like, yes! I'm so excited. I get to see the Hardys live. This is going to be so much fun.
The Hardys are awesome live.
I know you got to see them at Genesis.
They are so good. That's what really, seeing them live really like solidified my love for them. I mean, I already liked them and they were growing on me. And then I saw them live and I saw them wrestle live and that was amazing. But seeing them after the match, like interacting with the fans, solidified me even harder because they are like really good dudes, like legitimately good guys. You know, they care about their fans. They take the moments. They don't rush past people. You know, they were just great. So yeah, this is gonna be great. I love this, and I hope they annihilate the Nemeth brothers.
It would be kind of interesting to see if, you know, predictions say the Hardys win, and maybe this will be the split for Nick and Ryan. Like during Rebellion, they get pissy at each other, and you know, this is the fallout, and now you see brothers separated in the next matches up to the main event.
That would be very interesting, and I love that more than anything. But yeah, the Battle of the Brothers tag teams are happening at Rebellion. My heart wants to see the Hardys retain, but I don't know. I mean, again, we have a couple weeks until Rebellion, so we'll see how this story builds up and how it unfolds. But that ends our TNA episode. But before we go, I do want to go over some quick news. So first and foremost, I know this doesn't mean a lot to most people, but TNA announced that they signed a new wrestler to TNA in the form of Maggie Lee. So for those of you who don't know, Maggie has been utilized over the last couple of months as an enhancement talent when they go through certain cities. So she would wrestle the likes of Masha and some other of the TNA knockouts. And she's also been heavily featured on TNA Explosion, which is like their like online YouTube specialty show where it's like dark matches and stuff like that, the stuff that doesn't get aired on the regular shows. But listen, I have said this from the very beginning since BC WrestlePod came into its inception 2 years ago. I am never going to be upset when any wrestling company signs more women's wrestlers to the roster. And TNA definitely, I want more women's wrestlers on that TNA roster, especially now that we have the likes of Jordan, who is no longer there, and now she's in WWE with NXT. And some of the heavy hitters like last year, Trinity making her return to WWE. Like, we need to start. Masha is currently in that Jordan role, but we also want more women to build up that division. So I'm so happy to see Maggie. I can't wait to see what TNA does with her. Honestly, I know a little bit of her pedigree. I think her first feud, if I were to pick, because their wrestling styles are so similar, but they would put on really good matches. I want to see her fight Zaya, because Zaya and Maggie have gone to the same wrestling school. They have trained in the British style of wrestling. Of course, Zaya Brookside's father is a big British wrestling legend in the UK. So I'm excited to see Maggie. But the other thing I want to talk about, which makes me super excited, is that we also have a second match made for Rebellion. Moose will be defending his X Division championship in, at least for our tenure. Will and I have been 50-50 with it. We either love it or we hate it. Is the Ultimate X match. So Ultimate X, for those of you who are new, basically there are 4 metallic poles that create a X made of ropes. And the way that you win this match is you have to climb the steel pillars, climb the ropes with you hanging in the middle of the ring, take the title. It's literally like a ladder match without the ladders. The title is sit hanging on that Ultimate X in the air, and you have to shimmy your way to the middle of these ropes, grab it, and land with the championship in order to win it. So champion doesn't need to get pinned in order to lose the championship. And I'm going with my hearts in this, and I hope it is true. I believe this is where Leon wins this championship, because you have usually it's people in this type of match, and it's usually all your quote unquote cruiserweights, which, X division is what we call here. So Moose is going to defend it, and I can see people like Leon Slater. I can see Trey Miguel. I can see Ace Austin, like all our smaller guys who are more athletic and agile. And if we have qualifying matches and Leon punches his ticket to Ultimate X, I think this is where we see Leon win the championship. Because I think Moose has had this thing since October, November. So I think this is the perfect way for Moose to lose this. And he doesn't have to get pinned. So you don't have to worry about him getting pinned and, big champion, big face losing. So I'm excited because I get to see this live, and I'm going with my heart. And I'm hoping that if we have qualifying matches and Leon makes his way to Los Angeles, I'm hoping this is where Leon wins this championship. But I'm excited. This is going to be a fun match either way. So we got 2 matches so far for Rebellion. As the next couple weeks go, I'm pretty sure we will get more, which I'm super excited for. But that brings us to the end of this week's TNA review. I know it's sad that we have to end it this week, but fear not, because we will be back next Friday to review another exciting episode of TNA Wrestling. So from myself, Will, and JT, the trio here at Takedown Troupe, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay iconic, and more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. We will catch you next week for another exciting episode of Takedown Troupe. But until then, sayonara, adios, and remember, take care of yourselves tonight. We'll see you later.